Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Pemirsa Majelis Ulama Indonesia yang dirahmati Allah Subhanahu wa taala. Alhamdulillah, dalam bulan Ramadan 1437 Hijriah bertepatan dengan Hari Lingkungan Hidup Dunia, Majelis Ulama Indonesia mengisi bulan Ramadan ini dengan program Eko Ramadan. Sebuah program untuk meningkatkan kesadaran umat muslim di Indonesia tentang pentingnya pelestarian lingkungan hidup dan pengelolaan sumber daya alam yang sesuai dengan ajaran Islam. Ini merupakan sebuah wujud menuju ketakwaan. Alhamdulillah, dalam kesempatan ini telah hadir narasumber dari UNICEF, sebuah lembaga perserikatan bangsa-bangsa yang memfokuskan programnya untuk peningkatan kesejahteraan anak, khususnya anak di Indonesia. Baiklah, narasumber pertama dari UNICEF, Ibu Lauren Rambel. Selamat pagi, Ibu.
Selamat pagi.
Ibu Lauren adalah Deputy Country Representative UNICEF di Indonesia. Selanjutnya, Bapak Eden Cronin. Selamat pagi. Bapak Eden Cronin, beliau adalah Chief untuk program air bersih sanitasi UNICEF di Indonesia. Baik, dari percakapan nanti kita dengan kedua narasumber, semoga kita bisa mendapatkan informasi lebih jelas tentang UNICEF program di Indonesia, peran dan kontribusinya terhadap peningkatan kesejahteraan anak, masyarakat Indonesia, dan tentunya bagaimana terhadap lingkungan hidup di Indonesia. Selanjutnya juga semoga kita mendapatkan informasi tentang harapan UNICEF sebagai lembaga internasional terhadap peran Majelis Ulama Indonesia sebagai sebuah lembaga yang besar di Indonesia, khususnya untuk meningkatkan kesejahteraan masyarakat, anak-anak, dan tentunya untuk peningkatan kualitas lingkungan hidup. Baik, pertanyaan pertama saya kepada Ibu Lauren. Ibu Lauren, could you please tell us about UNICEF? And then, what does UNICEF in Indonesia, Bu? Please.
Thank you for having me here this morning. It's such a pleasure to be here during this holy month of Ramadan. What does UNICEF do? People often ask me this, and I think the best way to describe it is we are a child rights organization that tries to promote the rights of every child everywhere to health and well-being. And we put that commitment into practice in 190 countries around the world. And in fact, we've been in Indonesia for more than 50 years now. That's almost half a century, where we are trying to work with religious leaders, private sector, governments most importantly, and of course children themselves, hands in hand with civil society to really try and reach the most marginalized, the poorest children across the country with the services that they need.
Wow. It has been a long time in Indonesia and work with different partners, Bu. Ya. So, how you see Majelis Ulama Indonesia as a partner of UNICEF?
Majelis Ulama is such an important and critical partner because what they are doing is promoting child rights through all their networks, particularly at this moment, promoting every child's right to safe and clean water and to a defecation-free environment. What does that mean? It means that if children have access to clean water, they grow up healthier, they can learn better, and they become part of the strong Indonesia that we know and hope for in the future. And indeed, what I always say to partners like this is that a person of faith is a person of promise, and of promise for the future. It's an optimist. Somebody who really believes that Indonesia can carry a future for children that we're all proud of. And it's work like this, the collaboration between UNICEF and the Majelis Ulama, that helps to keep that promise true.
Thank you, Bu. Bu Lauren, so far we heard about the Sustainable Development Goals at global level. It's still ongoing work, but sounds very important. I guess it's also for Indonesia. So, how you see this relevancy with Indonesia SDG goal and also objective, especially related to this specific partnership between UNICEF and MOE?
Thank you for the question. It's very timely. Last year, towards the end of last year, governments from all over the world made, talking about promises, made a promise to children. They came together to say that they will, by 2030, very ambitiously, achieve certain targets. And those targets are all promises, we think, for children, for the next generation. Sustainable development for children. They make promises like clean and safe water for every child, for every family. They talk about a defecation-free environment for every child, every family. The right of every child to grow up in a clean and unpolluted environment. If we think about Jakarta today, so much traffic, so much pollution, and more children are dying of pollution than malaria and HIV combined. So this is a very good time for Majelis Ulama, as a prominent Muslim organization in Indonesia, in the largest Muslim population in the world, to take a stand and say, let us achieve these promises with our community. Let us make those promises true. Let us join hands at the community level. Let us make the mosque the center of child's happiness, where we provide love and care, and we take promises back to the community to keep our communities clean and pollution-free.
Oh, thank you. It's a really big objective, but as you said, that Indonesia is on that direction. So now to Pak Eden Kronen, Pak. So far, MUI and UNICEF, especially WASH program, is doing something. So could you please elaborate or explain to us what it's all about and what actually you want to achieve with that program?
Yeah, thank you, Lilik. Actually, the partnership started last year between MUI and UNICEF. I think it's centered around exactly what Lauren has already said, that a shared set of values around the deep respect that Islam has for child rights and well-being. From that, we found a very common ground in terms of water, sanitation and hygiene. There are a lot of problems still in Indonesia. We have 51 million people open defecating, according to the joint monitoring program of WHO and UNICEF. We have 33 million people accessing unimproved water sources. We know that this poor water, sanitation, hygiene is having a big impact on child health. Approximately, we know that 66% of we know that children in households open defecating have 66% higher rates of diarrhea, and we also know that it's not just about their health, it's also about their nutritional status. There's significantly higher impact of stunting when a household is not accessing an improved latrine. So around this shared concern, UNICEF and MUI came together and produced a series of important guidance documents. One was a background document on why water and sanitation is so important in Islamic teaching. The second was a book of Friday prayers and sermons for the local imams and religious leaders. And the third was a fatwa. And that fatwa was launched at the Munas last August. And it has actually a very, very far-reaching and significant contribution to Indonesian society in real terms, because we're looking at, in the fatwa, to the use of zakat funds for reaching the poorest of the poor with improved water, sanitation and hygiene services. So this has massive implications and reach for improving the current situation and to reach the sustainable development goals that Lauren referred to. Where we are at the moment in terms of linking with the government is that Ministry of Health is a key partner in this relationship as well. They have just had a series of meetings across the regions of Indonesia, looking at raising awareness of the fatwa to the local province health offices, and that ties in very well as well with the RPJMN target, which is universal access to safe water and sanitation for all Indonesians by 2019.
Okay, so meaning that MUI can take role even more important as a representative of Muslim in Indonesia, Pak, in regards to elevating the issue related to the wash in Indonesia.
Absolutely, and I think this is at two levels. One is, of course, raising the awareness at the local level. I remember some work we did in Aceh Timur district in Banda Aceh. I remember one village, Bersua Bora. This was a village of approximately 2/3 of the population was open defecating. The local puskesmas and religious leader came together and triggered the community on why this was impacting on their health. Within 2 years, that community had become open defecation free, and the local religious leader was really the key to making it happen. So I think that's just a practical example on one side of the demand creation, but on the other side in terms of the zakat and its potential now to really help people in a very practical way to attain a basic level of service. And of course it's not just about health, it's also about dignity and privacy as well.
Thank you. So, Pak Eden, you mentioned about the different stakeholder for this, especially very relevant to this issue. You mentioned about the government community and also MUI or religious leader. So how do you see, if you can elaborate more about what can be done by each of key stakeholders?
Sure. I mean, first of all, because the challenge is so huge, that your partnership is key. Nobody can do this alone. We do need everybody playing their part. So from the Ministry of Health down to the local sanitarian and the puskesmas, it's about raising the awareness of programs like Sanitasi Total Berbasis Masyarakat to raise really action at the local level for open defecation elimination. From the side of Majelis Ulama Indonesia, it's about really raising awareness of the strong link between good water and sanitation and Islamic principles and guidance, so that when the Friday prayers are happening, there's really those messages coming out to the community. From our side, from UNICEF side, we have programs in several provinces. These are mainly supporting the government to help in terms of capacity building or strengthening monitoring systems, or just in any way we feel that we can support to accelerate the program, because the target of universal access of 2019 is very close, just a few years away. We really need to see acceleration and scale up of efforts now to make that happen.
Okay, thank you, Pak Eden. So, Ibu Loren, from all the information that you mentioned, and also Pak Eden mentioned that from your side as UNICEF in Indonesia, do you have any words for Majelis Ulama Indonesia?
Thank you so much for the opportunity. And yes, it may sound like a big agenda. By 2030, every person, every child in the world has access to clean and safe drinking water. And already Indonesia is so progressive by making a promise not to do it by 2030, but to do it by 2019. How do we get there? And really it's possible because of partnerships like this one with Majelis Ulama. It's change starting with a few individual leaders who are determined to build a brighter future for the children of Indonesia. And that change can happen in one village, in one town, in one province. And immediately, as with the example of Banda Aceh, it is possible to make these communities safe and clean, starting with the role modeling and best practice that Majelis Ulama can play. Thank you.
Thank you. Bu Loren, still have another question. You mentioned about UNICEF, yeah? And then could you explain more about why UNICEF works for the poor and the poorest?
We like to focus on all our work, whether it's advocacy work, policy advice, service delivery, working hands in hands with partners, on the poorest and most marginalized children, the hardest to reach, the ones that are not reached by telephones or internet, those that don't access enough food or water, because they are really the heart of the Sustainable Development Goals. The principle of these new global goals, these promises for people and a new future 2030, mean that governments have to achieve growth and sustainable growth for every person everywhere. It's no human left behind. And this principle is very aligned with that of Islam, which is that the heart of our humanity is to unite in humanity, to care for our brothers, our sisters, our poorest, our most vulnerable families. This charitable approach, the zakat time, is to give to those who have less than us, those who are less fortunate. And that is the principle of humanitarian work at the heart of our mandate.
And you see also some potential stakeholder who also focus on this specific target of community. How you see, Bo?
Absolutely. I see all of us taking hands to look after those who have less than we do. And it may be the Majelis Ulama, it may be a caring teacher who notices a child who comes to school hungry every day. It may be a parent who looks next door to their neighbor and sees a child not going to school or simply not having enough to drink or eat. It's that taking care of one another and uniting in that care. So it can be a community organization, an international child rights organization like ours, the government of Indonesia, and the Majelis Ulama. We all have a part to play in achieving the Sustainable Development Goals.
Thank you. Pak Eden, you already mentioned about the WASH program in UNICEF, especially focused in Indonesia. Could you elaborate more, Pak? WASH program in Indonesia of UNICEF? What do you do in Indonesia, Pak?
Yeah, thank you. Well, we have two levels of our work on WASH. We have here at the national level, supporting the government, Ministry of Health and Bapenas on really looking at some of the overarching issues like the profile of who is being reached, the monitoring systems to make sure, as Lauren said, nobody is left behind. And then at the local level, it's very much about supporting the the rollout of the programs like SDBM, and to make sure that these are rolled out in all the communities to support the government in terms of capacity building. We have offices across Indonesia: Jayapura, Kupang, Makassar, Ambon, Banda Aceh, also in Surabaya. We have WASH programs which are mainly supporting in eastern Indonesia, the local government around a few key pillars. One is the community sanitation, second is understanding the risks to water quality, and third is WASH in schools. So WASH in schools is actually a very powerful program. We all want our children in school learning, developing, growing, but of course if there's an unclean environment or an environment that kids don't feel like they can easily learn, that obviously doesn't help getting kids into school and keeping them in school then. So we really work with the teachers and with the district officials to make sure that kids can do something as simple as putting their hand up in class, going to a facility to go to the toilet, a clean functioning facility, one they don't feel scared to go into. They come out, they wash their hands with soap and water and go back to class. It should be that simple, but we know that the ratios of children trying to access toilets often are over 100 children per toilet, which is unacceptable. Often there's no soap, so kids are putting themselves at risk if they can't wash their hands. And it's a very powerful program where we see it working well. You have so much joy from the children. They wash their hands together. They keep themselves motivated. Teachers notice the impact on children coming to school. So So this would be really a message for the viewers to, you know, if there's one thing to remember from this program, one action point is to please see the facilities in your child's school and make sure your kids are taking that message of washing their hands to school and at home as well.
Okay, you mentioned about the elementary school as a target for WASH. Do you have any specific target for adolescents, especially in WASH program, Pak?
Yeah, you're very right. This is a key age group that often get neglected or feel their voice is unheard. One issue we know more and more about is adolescent girls who start to menstruate. That this is a big challenge for them, especially at the time of, you know, changing their bodies, changing their relationship with boys. So good facilities in schools make a very big impact at that critical time. So that girls have a place, a private place that they can go and change their clothes if needed, change their sanitary pads if required, but mainly that they have a place that they feel that they can be alone for the time that they need to be. We've been working with the Ministry of Health on this, but also what has been very nice is having this dialogue also with Majelis Ulama Indonesia, because these are all adolescent girls are also part of the community, and at a critical time that we can reach them. So we're one of the plans of our partnership is this year to produce guidance through the lady prayer groups to help these girls at this time.
Okay, so of course using Islam teaching also in. Thank you Pak Eden, thank you Ibu Loren for your time. So pemirsa, demikian percakapan kami dengan narasumber. Semoga ini memberi manfaat bagi kita semua. UNICEF sebagai sebuah lembaga internasional ikut berperan serta dalam peningkatan kesejahteraan anak-anak maupun masyarakat Indonesia secara umum, dan tentunya lingkungan hidup di Indonesia ini. Melalui kerjasama dan kemitraan yang begitu kuat antara UNICEF dengan Majelis Ulama Indonesia menghasilkan sesuatu yang lebih baik bagi kehidupan masyarakat di Indonesia. Satu hal yang perlu dicatat dari ini semua adalah bahwa ternyata Majelis Ulama Indonesia mempunyai peran yang sangat besar dan mempunyai posisi yang begitu kuat, bahwa bantuan maupun kontribusi terhadap program yang saat ini sedang dijalankan oleh pemerintah khususnya untuk mencapai universal akses bagi air dan sanitasi di 2019 ini juga bisa tercapai. Demikian pemirsa MOI TV yang berbahagia, saya Lilik, wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.